All right, Miss Bradley. So we are on technically our third day of our lesson plan on Wednesday. So this was mainly our focus. We were wanting to highlight our skill words and reading our passage with the highlighted words. Those were our two big things today. And so what I want us to do is we both took some notes. So we split your class. You had half of the class and I had half the class. And then we just kind of went around and took some notes. So I thought maybe we'd talk about what you saw with your group and then some things that I saw with the students that I watched. And then, maybe put some needs down, some students who are still struggling with their rate, in their accuracy and their expression. And even if there's some students who we've seen grow, just to kind of make some notes and then determine what we want to do going forward tomorrow and then for our end of cycle assessment on Friday. So do you want to start with the students that you watched out of your class or your group?
So I'll just go off. I'll start with, do we want to go student by student?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So as far as Elliot, he was really good with chunking words together. His expression was phenomenal. He did a really good job when his partner was reading, tracking with his finger. His accuracy was really good when I was listening to him. So I think he would be one that could move on to like a new passage tomorrow.
Okay.
A clean copy.
So possibly clean copy for Elliot.
Yes.
And then looking at how we did last week, he was one of the top students that we had.
Right.
I mean, his rate was great last week and his accuracy was really good. I noticed his expression didn't improve when we did our formative assessment.
Right.
So you were able to see a little bit of improvement in what he did today.
I feel like we could give him a 2 on that, so he would be in the green. He did really well today.
I felt like when I was in his group that I noticed something. He wasn't one that I was documenting, but I thought that I noticed that he went back and did some self-correction too.
Yeah, which is really good for that accuracy piece.
So clean copy, okay.
And then as far as Eddie, he is still choppy and sounding out words. I almost wonder if he needs to go to the small group table.
Okay, all right, so still Parker. His rate is just still really choppy, okay. So
and that's because his
small
accuracy,
group.
He's sounding out words, which is affecting his rate.
I gotcha. Is he able to sound, were you noticing if he was able to sound them and then go back and blend them correctly?
Yes,
so he's just not real accurate
Right.
still, so I'm gonna put rate and accuracy. How was his expression?
He was so, I think, caught up with the accuracy that his expression,
Yeah.
he still struggles with being able to do that.
All right, so possible moving Eddie back to small group. And he was one that his rate, the last time we did our assessment, he was really in the benchmark category, but, a lower benchmark. And, this kind of proves what you were saying. His accuracy was still a little low, and he had no expression. And I think it goes along with what you were talking about, how he's still sounding things out.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Cameron, I feel like he was reading at a good rate. Accuracy, he got caught up on a couple words, like the word strained.
A lot of them did, I noticed that.
Ending with that ED sound. So, maybe even we could focus on some of those words that end in ED and have a passage with some words like that.
Yeah, and that STR at the beginning, I thought, like they noticed that AI, but they really struggled getting that word off the page at the beginning. His expression, did you notice anything about that?
I put a check mark there, so yes, I think he had some expression.
And looking back on Cameron, he was one that improved, so I can tell that he is. He's really doing well on his formative assessment on that. So he's making some progress.
Yeah, he did. He is making progress. Okay. I'm very proud of him. As far as Annabelle, her expression, she's doing a really good job with that.
Good.
When the characters were talking in our story, she changed her voice. She sounded like the characters, so that was really good. Some errors with accuracy, but she's good with going back and self-correcting.
Oh, good. Okay.
And her rate, she was really good as well.
Okay. All right.
Lilith Jo, she is pretty good with expression when her accuracy, when she's accurate on reading. I heard her reading the story towards the end, so I think she's read it a few times. So she did pretty well with it when I got to listen to
Right.
her.
And when I was at the table listening to a few of mine, she actually went and corrected Elena on one of the words that she was doing. And so I
Look
thought
at
that was pretty
that. That is
impressive. And it was a
great.
tricky word that she corrected her on, and right away. So I thought that was good for her.
That is
I can
great.
tell she's improved.
And that shows she's confident
Yes,
too. So,
yes.
And she needed to build that. As far as Raylan, her rate, she's choppy. Accuracy, she's still sounding out words. Therefore, her expression is not the best.
And I know, looking toward tomorrow, how you said Eddie probably, that you said Elliot would be ready for a clean copy. Eddie, if we move him to a small group table,
Right.
I'm wondering if that group even stays with the highlighted copy.
Yeah, I believe
They
they
may
need
not,
the highlighted
yeah.
copy.
And it was a longer story today. A lot of AI and AY words in there. So maybe we make a note that the kids who are still struggling with rate and possibly accuracy go back and do some more with that
The
highlighted
highlighted
copy
copy.
first.
To reread, yes.
Okay. So highlight.
So as far as that, I just have Elliot right now
Okay.
for a clean copy,
Clean copy,
of the
all right.
story. And then Anderson, he did good with chunking some words, and he was accurate, but his voice was the same as he was reading. Not lots of expression with
Okay,
that.
so still
he needs
working
to
on
work
that
expression
too.
for sure.
And he had a little bit of growth in his expression, but yeah, I think he still has a little need there.
Yes. And then Olivia was last on my list, and her rate was just slow. When she got to the reader, Martez, she kept getting stuck on the word Martez, and we talked about it even a few times. So I think those good repeated readings for her are going to be helpful. So she definitely needs that highlighted copy tomorrow.
And I actually popped into her group as well, and she read the past, the little sentence, and she was just monotone. And then I said, well, let's practice. Did you see that question mark? And then she went back and she tried really hard at the end to improve that expression. So I know that that's an area for her as well. Yeah, because even on her formative assessment, she was benchmarking all, but expression was still really low for her.
And Olivia and Anderson are partners, right? So I'm wondering, because Anderson, he had the same voice when he was reading. Olivia had the same voice. I really think they need to focus on expression. So I'm wondering if we do partners tomorrow, if we need to pair Olivia with somebody that's stronger in expression.
I think that's a great idea.
And then Anderson, somebody
Okay,
who's
so
stronger in
finding
expression.
her. So looking at this one, which we know Lilith Joe will need to stay, don't you think?
Yes, in the small group.
Okay, so we had her.
And Raylan will need to stay.
Raylan will stay. Was there anybody in that group that you felt like would be a better partner for her?
Let's see.
I know you said Annabelle. She had better expression.
Annabelle
Do you
would be a
think?
great partner.
Okay, so maybe moving her. And then Annabelle's partner.
And then what about Elliot will need a partner?
Okay,
I know we said we'll give him a clean copy, but we could do some rereading with the highlighted copy, and he could read with Anderson. So
yes,
maybe
because
Elliot
his
and
expression was
Anderson.
really good too. He was
Right.
across the board, he is improved, so
Absolutely,
maybe
yeah.
putting Elliot and Anderson, okay. I think that's a good swap.
Okay.
So looking at my group, Elias, he got out just in the nick of time before he had
checked
to do
out.
it with his partner, and then Elena was absent. So Abigail, she is just about epitome of what you want everybody to be able to
Absolutely.
read like. Her
Yes.
expression was perfect, her accuracy, she is just a beautiful reader. And I know she's really at the top of the list when we're looking, and she's always at the top of the list. So I know partnering with her with anybody, if we make any other adjustments, she's a great model for somebody to listen to. Lucas, he was still a little choppy as he was reading, but his accuracy was spot on. I noticed that he read when we got to a dialogue sentence. He read it, and then he saw the end mark, and he was like, "Oh!" And then he went back and he reread it. So his self-correcting was really good with his
yes.
expression. Grantham had some really good phrasing today. I noticed as he was
Good.
reading, and he was very accurate. He's one that we read with the other day, and he was, to me, his attention to text was a little off when we read with him, because his accuracy had actually decreased from the first time. But today, I don't know if he may just had an off day, because today he did a lot better.
Good.
His expression was good. Elena and Deliza, they were at the table with Miss Barker, and that's exactly, I feel like, where they need to continue to be. They're still both really sounding out words and not very fluent. Elena missed the word could, and then strained was a hard one for her too, so we went back, and that was when Lilith Joe went in and self-corrected her at that point, or corrected her at that point. But Elena's expression was really good.
Yes.
So I thought that was good. And Deliza too. I know every time we read with her, she's just she's quiet, and she's very monotone.
Very serious. She's very serious.
But I pointed out one of the dialogue sentences, and I said, just read this for me right here. And I could tell she was trying really hard to do that expression.
Yes, that's awesome.
So I think we're seeing a lot of growth in that category. I think they're becoming more aware, of their punctuation marks and their rate. And I think the more they practice, that will improve.
Right.
And we've just kind of brought attention to it at this point. So looking at our groupings, were there any other people that you think needed to shift? Partners, or was everybody else, did you feel like that was okay if we do this again tomorrow?
I think everybody else is good with the partner that they have.
So if they are partners and we're saying some need a clean copy, like Elliot, do you think Anderson's going to be okay going straight to a clean copy as well? Or do we want to do you think we should start everybody with that highlighted piece again and just review that?
I think everybody needs to start with the highlighted piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think so too. I know that it says just to do the clean copy, but like you said, this was a longer passage, and I think they probably need a little bit more practice. And maybe not going back and doing the highlighting. One of the things that, we did Monday that's not on Wednesday's lesson is reading the highlighted words. So maybe if you started there.
And we may need to do that because, like we said, that word strained, it has the A sound. That would be a good word to read.
Okay.
Altogether, those highlighted words.
Okay.
And then after they partner read, though, we could give like Elliot and Abigail a clean copy.
Because we know that they're probably going to be ready for that.
Because we know that they can be ready for that.
Okay.
So maybe after they partner read, if they go back to their seat and whisper read, they could grab a clean copy of the story.
So read with their partner with the highlighted.
Right.
And then when they go back to their seat, clean copy.
Yes.
That's a good idea. Did any of them get to read in their reader? Did you notice? When I was walking around taking notes, they were still whispering their story.
This was a lot longer passage, I feel like, so it took a little bit longer. So not as many got to that part within our 30-minute lesson time. But I think tomorrow, once we reread it, they practice with a partner, they're going to get to that a lot faster.
Yeah.
So that will be good for them because it has the A sound in it, and they can start practicing that again.
And they read it yesterday too, as practice.
Yes.
So
So
they've
it is a
seen
reread.
it. You're
Yes.
right. So tomorrow's lesson, you're going to, I just want to make sure we've got this in the right order. We're going to read the highlighted words.
Right.
Again, partner them up, and change those. And do you want me to go into that slideshow and, tweak the partners a little bit before tomorrow?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Which I think we only changed, Elliot is with, who did we put Elliot with?
Anderson.
Anderson, that's right.
Okay, so I'll
Those
just
are the
kind of
ones.
flip some of those names around in the slideshow, so that'll be ready for you tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
And then, do we have clean copies already made for tomorrow, or do we need to make copies of that too?
We'll need to make a few
Okay.
copies of that.
So we'll tweak the partners, we'll make some clean copies. Anything else for tomorrow that you can think of that we might need?
I do not think so. I think we
Okay.
already have the highlighted copy, so we'll use that.
All right, so look, going back, and so we've got tomorrow's lesson. And so that's the day that we want to really take and look at our beginning of coaching cycle data and what we collected at the beginning, and really do the same thing on Friday to get some end of cycle data for our students. And I know that we've got, really in the lesson plan Friday, they're just supposed to read a clean copy of a brand new passage. So when we did this at the beginning and got our data, we did a cold read from the decodable, that Grace the Performer.
Right.
And I know we've moved on from that skill. So do you think going back to the skills reader to grab a cold read? Or I know, let's see, we have this is the last passage in the long A skill right
might be a
here.
good
This is
one.
the one that they have. The only thing I noticed about this story that concerned me was that this really was the only area to really listen to expression.
Right, and there's not any questions or any exclamation points.
So if that's one of the things that we noticed in our data was one of the lowest
Right.
points, because at the beginning, we only had 26% that were
Right.
proficient. And if that's the only sentence, I wonder if we need to maybe find another
Well,
one.
in
Would-
their skills reader, that next story, I feel
Okay.
like might be a good one.
The one that's after Martez?
Right, I'm not sure the title of it, but that might have a lot of expression
Okay.
in it. So I'll take a look at that, and then we can talk tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, all right,
about
that
one.
sounds good. So that could be a possibility, and then we can do like we did with Grace the Performer, just retype it.
A cold
Just
read.
don't, yeah, and then we can, type the numbers up or whatever we need to do,
Okay.
and just have them read that.
Okay.
So the story after Martez, okay. Do you want me to come in? So what we did last time was we broke apart, and you read with half of the students, and I read with half. Does that still work
Yeah,
for you?
I think that worked really well.
Okay.
And then maybe the other students, we could give them some other story, or they could read again in their reader with a partner, and then whisper read.
Okay,
um,
that sounds
story.
good. So doing that while we gather some data.
Right.
And then going forward from there, so once we get this data, what we'll want to do is analyze it, like go through and
Yes,
summarize and
right.
see, did we move anybody out of these categories, and has our percentage increased on these? So looking at next week, if we gather our data on Friday, could we either meet Friday after? That may be too quick. We might want to look at next week and meet sometime next week.
Right.
I know that Ms. Whitten and I decided, since we've got that teacher work day on Monday.
Oh, that's perfect.
That was a good day to
Yes,
do
yeah.
it. And I think, let me double check my time for her. I've got 1 o'clock that I'm meeting with her, we're doing our reflection from our coaching cycle.
Okay.
So do you have any trainings that morning or anything?
We do have a numbers training that morning, so
Okay.
anytime in the afternoon. is
So
fine,
maybe just,
After lunch.
like, if I meet with her for about 30 minutes
Sure. Mm-hmm.
and just pop in and see if 1:30 is okay?
Yes,
Will that
that's
work for you?
perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as observing students tomorrow, I feel like it's been a little overwhelming trying to observe the students that we just cut the class in half.
Yes.
Between you and I. So I don't know if we can maybe just every day, which I know it's the end of our coaching cycle,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but for me as a teacher moving forward, having a group of students to focus on, like
Yeah.
3 or 4 instead of 7.
Yeah,
Because it can be really overwhelming
I
to
thought
get a
so
bunch of
too.
notes and then
yes.
talk about them. at
I
the very
know,
end.
and you think, well, that's not very many students, but like you, if you're looking at all of these things as they're reading, or if I come to you and you're not reading, and I come back around and I come back and you're still not reading, that does
Right.
make it a little bit overwhelming to
Right.
try to get data on them, or just listen. So either, like you said, maybe just having a focus of a certain amount of students.
Right.
Maybe today, I just want to hear these people read.
Right.
Or, one thing you could either target multiple students, but just listen to one, like, I'm only listening for their expression.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea,
Yeah.
too.
But the one thing I found, because I tried that with Elena, or
Yeah.
Deleza, it was Deleza. I had to come back because
Yeah.
I was like, can you just read this sentence for me?
Yeah.
Because she wasn't at that point. So
Right,
that was a
right.
little tricky.
Right.
So I do like that idea better. Maybe just not trying to, because you will be doing this
Yeah.
without me,
Yeah.
and so you having to kind of target
Yeah.
15 kids at one time, that's
Right,
a lot.
right. Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you can think of that we need for tomorrow or Friday going forward?
I think we have the highlighted passages for tomorrow, and we'll just need a couple copies of the clean passage.
Okay, and I wrote a note about that, so I'll make those this afternoon, and
then
I'll go in that
and then we'll
slideshow.
just save the highlighted version for the big board.
Okay, okay.
That way we can use that again tomorrow.
All right, well, I thought it went well today.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.